I really believed that God was going to heal me. Like, so much to the point where I remember there was one day where I, like, prayed. And I was like, God, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to learn from this. But, like, tell me what I'm supposed to learn. Like, I'll learn it right now. Like, I just want to eat.
Yes.
And I remember feeling like God had told me that I was healed.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's ex-mormon with My Spiritual Life, and today I have my baby sister.
Oh, gosh.
This is my little sister, Rae. We are 10 years apart.
Damn, you're
And
so old.
I'm so old. No, you're old. The older you get, I get older. Anyway, so she's the one that you might have heard me talk about having a lot of chronic health issues. And so I really wanted to bring her on here to talk about her story because Mormonism really affected it. It really affected her health, the way that she treated her health problems. It really affected her mental health. It really affected the way our parents handled the situation.
Yeah, I think overall it was just like how people interpreted it was why it affected me so bad.
Yes!
Like how people chose to interpret Mormonism.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a good way of putting it, right? That's a good way.
Because I mean, Mormonism itself didn't cause this. But
yes, Mormonism didn't cause your stomach problems, unless other people are just immune to it.
yeah, I guess so. I've just been doing it wrong. Actually, I've been doing it right. You all haven't been following it well enough.
Yes,
if you guys were
if you're not throwing up every day,
then you're not doing it right.
There you go.
You must not be faithful.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
Okay, so take us back to when your health problems started, because you didn't always have the problems that you're having. And tell us a little bit about what the problems are, whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
Oh yeah, so my symptoms. So I have a lot of stomach pain, and it usually, like, I cannot eat until like 1 p.m. Sometimes it's still too early, depends. I have to be awake for like 5 hours before I eat, or else my stomach will be like, no, that is not
today.
No,
Not
yeah,
today.
sometimes even like water, which is really hard to explain to people. They're like, what? It's water. And I don't know, my stomach thinks it's spicy or something. Because it's
Spicy water.
Spicy water.
Oh gosh.
Too early in the morning. Anyway, so I'll get really, really bad intestinal cramps, like to the point where I feel like I'm gonna pass out. And then I will take a giant shit and then feel like shit for
a while.
A long time. Sometimes, if the reaction is so bad, I won't be able to eat for like a few days. Sometimes it's like I'll be able to eat the next hour. But
Just
normally,
depends.
yeah, it just really depends. And so I've also have a lot of just fatigue, which makes sense because I don't sleep much. Like last night,
Or eat much.
Right. Well, like, cause like, for example, last night I'm up till 4 a.m. because my stomach just hurts too much to sleep. And that sucks. So
take us back to when it started. How old and how it progressed.
I remember being as young as about 7 having some stomach issues. Like, I remember I would have really bad just stomach pains, and I would miss school a good amount because of it, and it made me feel really bad.
Right,
And I always felt guilty, or like, what if I'm faking it, even though like I was sick.
So you had this fear of like, people aren't going to believe me, or I'm not believing me.
Right.
Like, I'm not believing my own symptoms. Like, you were afraid your mind was making it up or something?
Yeah, and then I remember being on the playground at one point, and like my stomach was just like hurting pretty bad, and I didn't know why. And then it was like for the next few months, like I would eat a snack. There was like snack time at lunch. No, snack time before lunch, and then recess. And then at recess it would hit me, and I would feel like too sick to really play, which sucked because I was really good at tag. I was so good at that game. In monkey bars, I was the queen.
You're very athletic despite everything, so
Yeah, there was like one boy who could beat me at races, and I did not like him. Mostly just because he was faster than me. He was probably a good kid. Yeah, so from there I would go home complaining that my stomach would hurt, and then we did some like allergy testing, and a bunch of stuff came up. And I remember Mom kind of being like, I don't know what to feed you. Like, I would go to lunch with a bag of tortilla chips sometimes.
Right.
And she would pack other things, but they were so gross because some gluten-free foods are just disgusting.
True.
I found really good brands now, but, you know, for starting, and I mean, like, 10 years ago, there weren't as many options.
Yeah.
Like, gluten-free is more and more popular as time goes on. Anyway, so I would eat my tortilla chips at lunch, and I would keep trying to find new solutions, and then I would get really, really sick, and then we'd find out, oh, it's a new intolerance, because it wasn't like an allergy.
Yeah.
There's a big difference, but...
between food intolerances and food allergies.
Because allergies, you know, they can kill you. I mean, I feel like I'm dying.
And they'll show up, and they'll show up in an allergy test.
Yeah.
An intolerance is like your body is not, I don't know, accepting this thing. It's just getting rid of it. It's not processing it. And it's setting off these alarm bells to flush it out, basically, which is different than an allergy where you get hives or your throat closes up. But you've had that too.
I did get hives from certain foods. It was really bizarre. And the way it seemed to work is, like, I would only eat, like, the certain foods that I could. And then if I ate something too much, I would grow intolerant to it.
Yes, and the intolerances kept, like, growing.
Yeah.
Like, there was
like
more and
worse
more
worse
intolerances every year.
Yeah, and religion kind of stepped in. So, like, background, our family was very, like, do the natural path, which I think is great. I think that's a great path that needs to be explored. But I also think that doctors...
shouldn't be the only path.
It shouldn't be the only path. I think it should be both.
It was kind of this duality in our household, too, of, like, you just gotta have faith that God will fix it, and then also, like...
Right.
But if God can't fix it, then, like, these natural, holistic things should be able to fix it.
Oh my gosh, you know what's funny? It's like even like essential oils. I'm allergic to essential oils.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh.
So like that was a kind of funny.
Yes, yeah. I remember that happening, like... Yeah.
Oh man. Anyway, so it wasn't too bad when I was younger though. Like I would say like I would have a flare up maybe once a week, and you know like I'd feel sick for a little bit, but then like a few hours later I would be fine.
You could bounce back better.
Right. It was more like it was someone's experience of like, oh, I had Chinese food and it didn't go too well.
Taco Bell.
Right. It was like whatever. Like, but it got like so severe these past 2 years, I would say.
Yeah.
That like it's beyond that, you know, like it's beyond like my tummy feels uncomfy, you know.
Yeah.
There's like it's like my stomach feels like it is burning.
Yeah, and like we're struggling to get you to eat. We're struggling to get you to sleep. We're taking you to the ER every couple weeks. Like it's bad.
It's pretty bad because like when I got my gallbladder surgery, like I couldn't even have liquids, and we had to go to the ER because I was so dehydrated. That was a fun trip.
Yeah.
Anyway, so since then I've gotten my appendix out, I've gotten my gallbladder out, and I just 4 days ago got a surgery to see if I had endometriosis, which I did not.
And that was after we checked for everything else.
I went down the whole GI route. A GI is a stomach specialist.
We checked for Crohn's. We checked for
celiacs.
What's the thing where your stomach makes too much acid? That thing. We did everything the GI said to do, and they found nothing.
Ooh, and I got to take the...
devastating.
What's those... I can't think of the word right now. Sorry, guys. Brain fog is real when you
don't eat or sleep.
But I had to do the thing where I had to take a bunch of laxatives. That was my least favorite.
Oh, a colonoscopy.
I was literally...
And an endoscopy.
Oh, gosh. The colonoscopy was not it. I was, like, so excited because I was like, oh, I'm going to get answers from this. But then, like, I, like, whip out, like, the laxatives that they want me to take. And I was like, shit.
This is intense.
This is not good. I think I was up throughout the whole night just crapping my soul out watching lots of Disney movies. And the Disney movies did not...
trying to buffer
didn't, like, cover the wound, you know? Like, it wasn't enough.
Oh.
Anyway.
I remember.
Maybe we need to put in, like, a...
Disclaimer,
like, if you don't want to hear about my shit, don't.
Disclaimer, like, warning that, there's a lot of, details about Rae's bowels. Okay, so backtracking for a second here, let's talk about how like the whole attitude with religion and holistic, how that affected you.
Yep.
I remember specifically you crying to me one time as a teenager and saying, I'm sorry, I'm tired of feeling like a bad Christian because I want to go to the doctor. Do you remember telling me that?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Okay, so kind of tell me some of that stuff.
I don't remember like specifically telling you that, but I remember that was a big deal to me.
Yeah.
Because like I was very much under the impression, not just from people around me, but like with religion and like, you know, like stories I've heard from faithful members that like God can take away your illnesses.
Yeah.
And he will if you are faithful enough. And so I would pray and read my scriptures. I did all the right things. I was even told in blessings that like if I had read my scriptures more and that it would get better.
No way. They seriously said that?
I guess I didn't read my scriptures enough. You
know?
Oh my
gosh, how much do you have to read them to
I don't
fix
know.
this mystery? It's like, okay, if it's just like the chicken pox or something, like just like a couple days of reading it's fine. But like if it's you know, if it's something more serious, like you know, endometriosis, you gotta read just all day, all night for months. If you even want it, the symptoms to slightly go away.
Right. And you know, we talk about is it the SIBO effect? No, I'm thinking of SIBO. Placebo. The placebo getting effect. Like stomach illnesses and logical illnesses mixed up. But they talk about like the placebo effect. Like if you believe something enough, it'll fix it. I really believed that God was going to heal me. Like so much to the point where I remember there was one day where I like prayed and I was like, God, like I don't know what I'm supposed to learn from this, but like tell me what I'm supposed to learn. Like I'll learn it right now. Like I just want to eat. Yes. And I remember feeling like God had told me that I was healed. And again, it was probably just because I really wanted to be, and like I just really felt like
you felt like God was speaking to you, saying like you're healed, you can eat whatever you want now.
Yeah, and I legit like I believed it so much that I took.
Oh no!
I had a Reese's egg, and I was like
a chocolate,
and oh my gosh,
chocolate's a huge allergy for her.
Me.
Like she can't lick an M&M without.
No, I remember.
Oh my goodness!
There was one day where I had to like completely go on a liquid diet because I literally sipped a chocolate shake. And from that point, I haven't really had chocolate since then. That was years ago. Yeah. Anyway, so it was like a big one too. It was like a big egg.
Like an Easter candy.
Yeah, like an Easter egg. Anyway, so I ate that and I was like, I'm so faithful.
Okay, we're laughing, but like this is legit. Like televangelists will do the same thing. Like they'll get up there and say, you're healed, throw your pain, your medicine away. Throw your medicine away. So this is a serious thing, and that's why I really wanted to hear you talk about it, because the whole chronic illness thing, like, it is really hard to deal with, but it's much harder when you throw on this level of shame that comes with the religion. Right. Okay, so tell us what happened after eating the egg and how you felt.
That's a PG version of, like, what occurred to my body. Well, I had
the toilet has PTSD from what happened.
Right. Yeah, I was banned from the school bathroom after that one. Because I had theater, and so I went to theater, and oh my gosh, I was just, like, crying, like, in the bathroom. I had, like, missed the whole performance. Oh, and right after I had, like, thought I was healed, I think I was around 11 at the time when this happened, I got a blessing after saying, like, yes, you are, eat.
Oh my gosh, okay, and so to explain what the blessing is, it's some guy that's a priesthood holder from the Mormonism, so some guy like your dad or some guy from your ward who puts his hands on your head and he speaks for God. It's kind of like a prayer, but it's like he's speaking for God. And they'll say things in it like, be healed or whatever. Like they'll proclaim these blessings on you.
Right.
And so he puts his hands on your head and he's like, you were right. You really are healed.
I'm so faithful. I learned everything I needed to learn. I remember, like, I grew up with very much the impression that, like, if you have an illness, it's because you have to learn something from it. And God is trying to humble you. Like, I remember
Instead of, like, how can I take good from this bad experience? It's like God is thrusting this bad experience upon you.
You have to have this to learn.
Yeah. Like, very scary mentality.
Right. And it made me hate God for a while. I still kind of... sorry, God. I still have a lot of hate because of that one.
It makes sense.
And, you know, I don't know where I stand with religion at the moment.
And that's okay. You don't have to know right now.
So, where was I going?
Well, you do consider yourself ex-Mormon, just so they understand that,
yes.
right?
I'm definitely ex-Mormon. I am teetering on possibly being a Christian maybe somewhere down the line when I have less PTSD.
Trauma, right?
Right.
Perfect. So going back to the chocolate egg example of what happened, what did you start to think about, like, was I wrong? Was I not hearing God? Or was I not faithful enough? Or, like, what were your thoughts as you're trying to heal? You're trying to move on. You're trying to learn God's lesson, and it's not working. Well, do you remember what you were thinking at the time?
I just remember thinking that I was crazy. Like, I definitely felt like I had failed, or like I wasn't worthy of being healed, which was like really, which was it was a hard one, you know? Like, and again, like, I felt like kind of crazy because everyone in our family kind of has stomach issues. And so I always figured, like, I'm just overreacting. Like, I see. Because, like, everyone has them and they deal with them. But I just,
So to explain that just a little bit more, there's a lot of us siblings and our dad have a lot of food sensitivities where it's like if we eat something in particular, it can really upset our stomach. So she was thinking, they're managing it just fine, so I'm just being dramatic. That totally makes sense to me. But truly, your case was just extremely severe, whereas our cases were really mild of whatever was going on.
Yeah. Okay, so from there was that egg thing, and that just really crushed me, and I started asking to see a doctor because I was so sick. And
like as a teenager?
Yeah, I would say I was probably around 15 when I started being like, you know, I want to see a doctor.
Like, this doesn't seem right to me.
This is not it.
This is not fun anymore.
Yeah. And so from there, I kind of got a lot of flack saying that, like, it's expensive and it could be a lot of money. And again, I think it was just my parents running from their own fears of like, oh, you know, they're probably, like, again, everyone in our family has stomach issues. And so they're just assuming I just have it a little bit worse. But I just wasn't honest with them, really. Like, I spent a lot of nights and days, like, in the bathroom in tears, and I didn't really tell them. Like, I just...
Yeah.
Because it was also... I was ashamed of it, you know? Like, no one wants to talk about their shit.
That's true! That's very true.
It's like, I don't know. When I have kids, we're going to talk about poop all the time. It's going to be fun
times. That totally makes sense. You felt this need to, like, downplay it.
And also being a female, like, it's like, it feels disrespectful to ever bring it up. And I still feel like some shame in it, feeling like I'm a female, like I shouldn't talk about these things.
Yeah, like boys can talk about poop,
boys, they can tell their stories of their
poop stories.
Their poop stories, but if a female does it, it's like...
disgusting.
Right.
Right, I get that.
So I asked to see a doctor and I got a lot of flack on it, but finally I was given like an allergy test. It was like this online thing that we ordered, and 17 things came up as like intolerant. And so that was definitely kind of wild. Soy,
dairy,
eggs,
gluten,
milk, like everything that tastes good. Basically.
Yeah.
And so that was a big adjustment. So I tried really hard to stay away from those foods. Some of them I just don't think were very accurate, because like when you have that many intolerances, you can't cut them all out.
Right.
Like, I mean, you can, but then I grow intolerant to something I have too much. So I have to have variety. So that was fun. And from there, I kind of stopped pushing the doctor thing because it just wasn't going anywhere, you know? Like, I think my parents really just didn't want to pursue that route.
Yeah.
And again, they just didn't know, like, how much pain I was in.
Right. I know you're not like trying to shit on
I'm not
parents.
trying to shit on them because again, I was
but your experience was that you were having a hard time, you wanted to go to the doctor, they were discouraging it and it hurt you.
Yeah.
Even though they thought that they knew what they were doing. They weren't intentionally trying to be abusive. They thought, praying was enough. They thought that the holistic stuff was enough. And it wasn't.
No, definitely wasn't. Anyway, so...
Was that confusing for you? Like, feeling like they're saying, like, well, you just need to pray, or you just need to, do more essential oils, like, doing those things. Like, did that confuse you? And this isn't to shit on holistic stuff, right? I think that stuff is fun and cool and, like, try it out, sure. I don't think you should bet your life on it.
I think it made me angry more than anything because it felt like I'm trying to think of a good way to... It felt like I was bleeding out and they're like, rub some dirt in it.
Yes, like, that totally makes sense.
It was very much like, I am in severe, severe pain. And they're like, but have you breathed this lemon natural scent?
Yes.
Have you tried that?
That is so just funny. That's a very good metaphor there. Like,
it's just
try rubbing some dirt in that bullet wound.
Yeah, that should just lots of dirt.
Smell that lemon scent and that bullet wound will close right up.
Ooh, yeah. And so my breaking point was when my appendix ruptured. So that
it was bursting. Did it burst?
It actually did.
Oh, it ruptured. Okay.
So it was slowly leaking into my system, which I found out later.
This was November of 2020.
2020? Was it during COVID? I think it was during COVID.
Because it wasn't this last November, it was the November before. So
it was 2020, right? Am I crazy? Or was it 2019?
Nope, that's 2020.
Okay, 2020. Shitty year for everyone. So
including your appendix. R.I.P.
My stomach was hurting.
Rest in peace, Ray's appendix.
Yeah. They took pictures of it. It's pretty gnarly. Ooh, so gross. So it was a normal day where my stomach was hurting and I was like,
And it would hurt pretty bad. Doubled over pretty bad.
Yeah, I remember...
On a normal day.
Crying and being doubled over on my bed, and I call up my dad, and he's like, pressure points, and do all these natural holistic things, which again, great.
Yeah.
But not. So...
Not cutting it.
Oh, yeah, and so I was in severe, severe pain, and I remember Brian, he's my stepbrother, he's just a big light in my life, and so I was like, Brian and I, we're gonna go on an adventure, and we're gonna be okay. And so we went to Walmart, and I don't even remember what we did. I just remember being in severe pain walking around Walmart. I think we even left early because I think I was trying to print out some photos. I was trying to do a photo wall of my friends, and I left early. I didn't even get the pictures. So went back home, and then I was in severe pain. And then that night I went to my dad's house because on the weekends I would go to my dad's house. And so...
Our parents were divorced by then.
Yeah, they were divorced. I was 17 at the time.
The rupture, yeah.
Yeah, I was 17. And so...
They got divorced when you were 8, just to clarify.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. So I was at my dad's house, and I'm just crying because I'm a mess, and it's really hurting. But again, it doesn't really feel that unique compared to what I struggle with. Well, it did feel... I remember the pain did feel different, and it scared me. Because it was, different than normal. But I
different than your normal stomach pain from eating something that maybe you were sensitive to.
But it wasn't extremely different to the point where I doubted that it was just food.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I couldn't tell that it was in that general appendix area because it was everywhere.
It was radiating. Right.
And so we're watching a TV show. He's doing some red laser therapy and, holistic stuff. And I'm just sitting there crying, and it gets to 1 a.m. and he's still trying to take care of me, and I felt guilty.
Your dad?
Yeah. Dad's still trying to take care of me. I felt guilty, and so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go lay down and fall asleep. I knew I was not gonna sleep that night. I was in severe pain. And then I got this crazy high fever during the night. And I even started hallucinating.
Wow.
I would have dreams that I was dying, and then I would wake up thinking that I was still dying, Anyway, I was like sick. I was really sick.
You were just all sorts of
It was, man, probably one of the sickest times I've been. And so I had a fever, and that is the only reason I went to the hospital, because I was working at Chick-fil-A at the time, and I needed to get a COVID test.
Oh
so
my gosh, I
COVID.
didn't even know that.
That was
that makes me really triggered. Can we just, like, for a second here, that makes me super triggered. Because just watching you go through this health journey and realizing how often they didn't take you to the doctor when they should have is really triggering for me.
Yeah.
And, like, just being straight up, it makes me really angry. It makes me scared, because you could have died.
Oh, I could have. That actually was a life-threatening issue.
An appendix bursting can kill someone, can't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
The infection will leak everywhere and then infect your body.
Okay. All right. So they take you to the ER.
Yeah.
Who takes you? Well, it doesn't matter. Parent
took me to get my COVID test, and I was so sure that I had COVID, because I was like, oh, I hear about how sick people are, and this is it. This is COVID. And COVID came back negative, and then he's like, oh, we're just going to push around your body or whatever.
And no.
That's when they pushed down on my appendix.
They do that thing.
Yeah, and I, I didn't scream, because I'm very quiet about my pain, but I, remember being, clenching every muscle in my body,
because it was so painful.
It was crazy, because it went from no, you don't have COVID, but we're gonna send you into surgery. It was
wait, so did they do an ultrasound next, or they touched it and they were like, oh god, yeah?
There's no way to tell you have appendicitis without.
Really?
It's one of those diagnostic surgeries.
Oh, they gotta open you up to know. Okay.
Yep, and so they it was a very serious energy in the air, though, because if it was rupturing or had ruptured, it's very serious. And so they got me into an ambulance and transferred me to a hospital. Well, I went to an ER at first. So I was in the ER, and then they transferred me to a hospital very quickly. And I had my last meal, and then they, I had the surgery and all that. But that was a really big deal for me, realizing that that pain that I felt wasn't it wasn't
just
severe.
Nothing.
Yeah, it wasn't just nothing, but also the fact that that pain that I was feeling, it was really severe, but it wasn't that much further from what I was experiencing every week.
Oh, so you're oh man, I'm in a lot of pain.
It was
because I know appendix rupturing is massive.
Very painful.
So now I'm realizing it gives me a point of reference for the rest of my pain.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing, oh my gosh, I'm in a lot more pain than I thought. Well, and another realization probably for you at that time was parents don't know everything.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were wrong. They were just it's fine. It's just your stomach, being sensitive, you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't. It was a life-threatening situation.
Yeah. So after that, I slipped into depression, and I was also kind of going through a faith crisis, because
I imagine it was all so intermixed.
It was all very much mixed
right,
up.
because there was this a lot of pressure to be religious in the family, and a lot of pressure to live and be a certain way, and then a lot of pressure to be healed.
Definitely. I felt a lot of pressure also to pretend the things that they were doing was helping.
Oh my god.
Because with all this natural holistic stuff, I felt bad because they're putting in effort and it's not doing anything, but I really wanted it to do something.
And you didn't want them to feel bad.
It made me feel bad. Yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting.
A lot of unneeded, unnecessary guilt for feeling sick.
Yeah. So then you were feeling depressed, right? Because you're feeling sick and you're feeling unheard at home and feeling there's a lot of pressure on you to be a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So then what do you do?
Well, depression, I would say, was more worrisome than my health issues at that point.
Because it was so bad.
Yeah, my depression was really severe. I was kind of bedridden because of just the lack of motivation. And from that point, I started doing therapy, and I kind of realized...
You started to get some validation.
I started getting validation.
Oh, right. That the way you were being treated wasn't appropriate. That the way they were handling not just your health, but just the way they were treating you wasn't appropriate.
Yeah, I would say the two biggest like game changers for me was one, my service trip to Costa Rica, and then two was therapy.
Okay, so and a quick overview of Costa Rica was you went on a service trip there. You saved up for it. You went there. You were kind of free for a couple weeks. You were with another family.
And it wasn't like a mission at all. It
wasn't a Mormon service trip.
No.
It was like a Christian,
just like a
Christian
help
people.
Yeah, and I didn't have any stomach issues while I was there, which was crazy, which makes me kind of think that I have a lot of issues with preservatives and stuff. But when I was there, it was just a big eye-opener religiously, like, I guess...
The way they viewed God.
The way they viewed God was very different than the way I was raised.
Yeah.
And it kind of made me feel like I had it all mixed up and that I didn't have to feel bad for wanting to go to the doctor, or I didn't have to listen to everything my parents said.
Yeah, right. Or even just noticing how like they were practicing religion in a way that wasn't so manipulative. Because the way religion was practiced in our home was very manipulative.
Right. So that was a big deal for me. And then through therapy, I kind of decided over time, like, I would really like to be in a different environment and I would really like to get my health under control. And so I reached out to Morgan.
Oh, wait. So rewind for just a second.
Okay.
Remember, we kept trying to get you to come out.
Yeah.
Even just to visit. We were like, just come visit. And then she came out when I had August, my baby.
Yep.
And so it was an excuse to get her out here for a couple weeks, away from the toxic situation at home. And then it went really well, you being here. So we told her to stay. And she was like, no, I can't do that. So she went back. And then like a couple weeks later...
Yeah, so a couple weeks later, just some stuff exploded. My mental health was really, really bad. Yeah. And during the visit here, it was like...
Way
sunshine,
better.
Like I had motivation. It was like
you had freedom, you had love and acceptance.
Yes, there was no questioning.
You had space here, and there was no pressure.
Yeah, for sure. I think pressure was like the main thing that kind of threw me. Which again, like I don't think my parents meant anything by. Anyway,
but it still affected you in a certain way. We're being kind of vague. Hopefully, eventually, we'll get into more details about it. But we're focusing on the health story a little bit more than like some of the emotional stuff.
So from there was a big blow up, bunch of drama that happened, and I called Morgan that night and I said, "Hey, how about I move in 2 weeks?" Well, I asked. I was like, "Hey, is that offer still out there?"
Yes.
And I remember being like, "When?" And I was like, 2 weeks. Because I just knew that my mental health was like, I was on the ledge.
You weren't going to make it.
Yeah, and so I was like, It
was do or die. Like, it was this toxic situation between your mental health and your physical health had exploded.
Right.
Yeah.
Literally ruptured, like my appendix.
Yes, mentally ruptured, just like your physical rupture of the appendix.
Yeah, and so I moved out here, and then it began like the trial and error, medical research,
taking you to the doctor.
Oh yeah, and figuring out insurance, and oh my goodness, figuring out
it was
insurance.
A nightmare.
It was a nightmare.
It was an absolute nightmare.
But through lots of doctors and tests and stuff, I found out that my gallbladder was bad. I also had like polyps and stuff. The
polyp was in the gallbladder, I think,
So that was good to know.
Yeah.
And then I got my gallbladder out and I started having more issues because...
So the gallbladder, when you first moved in, your stomach was like doing okay. It wasn't doing great. It wasn't doing bad, but it started to get worse and worse and worse within a couple months of being here, to the point that you were doubled over and struggling to get through the day. And at that point, we started, getting you to the hospital and checking, and that's when we found the gallbladder. We got the gallbladder out. That was a big deal. Mm-hmm. That was a rough recovery. And the gallbladder attacks went away, but you were still really sick and really nauseous.
Yeah, nausea was like a huge issue, like before gallbladder and after. I got it out, and then I was struggling with really severe nausea, which I was still having severe nausea before the gallbladder. Like,
we were hoping removing the gallbladder would fix that, and it didn't.
I really hoped, yeah. And still daily struggling with that. Usually from about like 8 till noon, I'll be nauseous. I swear it's
So
like morning
awful.
sickness.
Anyway, so you got the gallbladder out, but you're still nauseous and still sick. And the gallbladder attack stopped, so it was a tiny bit better, but it still just wasn't better. And then your ovarian cyst ruptured.
Oh, that was a fun one.
Oh my god. I was driving you to the hospital and I thought...
I'm sobbing.
We were both thinking you were dying.
I was pretty sure. I was literally telling Morgan, like, you gotta call up Morgan and Blake and Tira, all the siblings, they need to come down right now so I can say goodbye. Like,
Yeah, we were terrified. You had never been in that much pain. Was it more pain than the appendix or pretty similar?
It was more pain than the appendix.
I swear to God, I've never seen you in more pain, and I've seen you in a lot of pain in the last year.
Yeah, I have a pretty high pain tolerance, so that was
Yeah,
fun.
you do. Yeah, we learned that multiple times.
So we went to the doctor's office. So the funny thing is I actually had a doctor's checkup that day. And so Morgan was driving me to my checkup. And during the checkup, there was this cyst rupture. Wait, what was it called? The cyst
the
rupture?
ovarian cyst.
Ovarian cyst rupture. During that.
Yeah, literally, like, she's on the floor in the room waiting for the doctor, and I just, like, throw open the door and was like, I need a doctor's here.
We're like, we can't wait any longer for this checkup.
I was like, we need to go to the ER. And so they like brought a doctor, and it wasn't even your doctor. They just brought some doctor, and he's like poking you, and they thought maybe your one of your ovaries was twisted or something. Yeah. I was so scared. I remember I was really scared. I was scared because it was after your gallbladder. I was scared that it was something to do with your gallbladder surgery going wrong. Yeah. I remember thinking that. I was like, they like didn't sew her up right or something, and now she has like a massive infection, or she has a hole in her uterus or something, or I don't know.
Yep.
So
from there, let's see. That was really unsettling because I wake up after all that and they're like, okay, you're good to go. And
that freaked me out too. They were just like, she's fine. We'll just send you home. Like, just a little ovarian cyst rupture, and she could just go home now. And I was just like I was exhausted. I was exhausted because like we were there for a few hours,
like,
and
I feel like there's a lot of talk about like how exhausting it is for like the person themselves to go through a lot of physical illnesses, but also it's really exhausting on caretakers. Like, because Morgan, you went from like literally like we were excited for me to come out thinking like, oh, it's gonna be like this healthy environment and I'm gonna heal all up, and then I come here and like wham, everything just tanks. And you were up with me quite a few nights, especially with gallbladder.
Yeah,
like
gallbladder was so bad
because I was just like terrified, you know.
Yeah.
And so I want to ask how that was on you and how it continues to be on you.
Oh yeah, I think it was so hard. So like there was always this like duality of like I'm so happy you're here, but also like I'm so horrified that I have to watch you go through this. Mm-hmm. Like I remember taking you in for your gallbladder surgery, and I remember the doctor being so weirded out that it was me and not a parent.
Yeah.
And I just remember crying, like, in the doctor's office, like, waiting for your surgery to be done. Mm-hmm. And just, like, this is not how it's supposed to be. Like, I'm not the one that's supposed to be here. And not that I was mad that I was there, but I was just sad for you and sad for me that it had to be this way. Because, like, it should have been your parents. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm, like, so it was this bittersweet thing. But it was also just, like, this is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking watching someone you care about be in so much pain, and how devastating it is every time we get a no. Like, I was so devastated.
We've had a lot of no's this year. Like,
they're all every time.
Oh, I see. Like, they're mostly no's, right? The gallbladder was yes, and like the cyst rupture, and like those were things, but like
but we don't have answers to your daily pain,
right?
Daily stomach pain and nausea. I just remember feeling like this sense of like there's nothing, I can't fix it, and then I like feel guilty that I can't fix it, and like I can't do enough to, and then I feel guilty
that you feel guilty.
I know.
And we're like,
I know, it's so hard.
So
I've gotten better because of it. Like I've worked through my guilt more, and I have to like kind of like remove myself from it a little bit because I get really, really upset when I think too much about it, because it's just really hard to watch you be sick. And then there's the selfish part of me that's like, I want you to stop being sick. Like, I want you to stop being sick so you can live a happy life. But then there's also the selfish part of me that's like, I want you to stop being sick so that I don't have to be scared for you anymore.
Right.
You know?
And that
and
extra layer.
And feel so sad, like, when I get up in the morning and, like, you've been up all night and, like, I just, like, oh my gosh, like, I feel so bad. And I, you know, and that's just what it is, you know? I think, yeah, it just sucked. It has sucked. And I get angry because I just feel like it's not fair, you know? I feel like it's just not fair at all. And then I get angry at our parents because I'm like, if they had done something sooner... Oh my gosh,
there were so many times where, like,
I'm like, maybe
we just
you wouldn't be this bad.
Right. I remember it was kind of hard for both of us for a while because with all the hospital visits, we had a lot of healing to do with our parents because we were kind of like, maybe this could have been avoided. It was
very triggering emotionally, like,
right.
because of that. Like,
yeah.
Maybe so much of this pain could have been avoided if you had been taken care of like you were supposed to have been taken care of. Because our parents, like, they were so ridiculous with it. Like, they wouldn't take us for doctor visits ever. Like, we were born in the hospital, and that was the last time we went. Like, yeah. I think occasionally we went to get shots, but, like, they wouldn't take us for checkups. They wouldn't take us if we had a high fever. They wouldn't take us...
Yeah, no.
Like, if we cut our leg open, they would super glue it.
If we had a high fever, we got slushies. I remember.
Oh, no. And, they weren't all bad parents, but it was just, like, there was some ignorance that cost us. And luckily, most of the siblings were healthy. You were the one that wasn't. And so, you
the one who got
cost
away.
the most. Like, we all turned out fine because we didn't have any severe health problems like you did.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yep.
So, yeah, so where are we? Where are we at now?
Well, still sick every day.
Yeah.
But I'm going through like this transitional phase of seeing what I'm capable of. And that is hard. I'm like trying not to cry.
It's okay, you can...
It's hard. And I don't care if I cry on camera, whatever. I'm used to that from the vlog.
That was a good one. Inside joke.
Inside joke. It's been a very hard transition because, like, being here has definitely been a safe space to be sick.
Yeah.
And it's scary to try and figure out, like, where am I going, you know? And being sick, it affects, like, everything, and it sucks that it does. It affects, like, relationships. Like, I feel like with my boyfriend, like, he is the sweetest guy ever, right? Like, he does not mind taking care of me whenever I have to cancel events and we just have to cuddle instead. Like, he's totally chill about it, but it makes me incredibly insecure.
Yeah.
And so, like, you know, like, staying here, like, I feel like a terrible person because I'm like, oh, you know, like, I didn't clean the bathroom this week because I'd just been so sick, and then I'm just like, oh, like, I'm awful.
Right, I'm a burden.
I'm a burden.
Yeah.
And that's been a hard thing for me because all growing up, that was a huge fear of mine because I definitely felt like my health issues were a big burden to everyone around me.
Yeah.
And so I tried to stop bringing them up.
Right, it made you feel that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't want to burden anyone with my issues. And now it's just scary because it's like, I don't even know if I can hold a job, which I am a creative person. So, like, there are stay-at-home jobs that I can figure out. And
it's just because your stomach issues, it's not like they're something you can plan for. It's like you might have to call off last minute, and most jobs won't accept that. And so that's scary for you. And she's just graduating. She's graduating next week, right now, high school.
Yeah.
And
oh my gosh, school was awful this year. It's like not a great senior year.
Yeah, and not because of the school, because of your health problems.
Yes,
right.
Like,
because we were at the ER every couple weeks. There were surgeries every other month. Right, like...
Yeah, I had a surgery first try, and I'm ending this year with a surgery, so... Yeah, so it's scary. I'm at a spot where it's definitely hard not really knowing what's wrong with my body still. Like, it's definitely makes you feel so insecure, because it's like an invisible illness.
Yeah. Because every time I go to the ER, they're like, nothing's wrong with you.
Nothing's wrong. Your vitals are fine. And I even... I found creative outlets, like I've written songs, and in art class, like I made like this really cool art piece that was like, it showed someone like in the center, like a shadow, just like bent over, sad, and then like a bunch of like colorful arrows pointing to things that doctors will tell you to try.
Yeah.
And usually, like, one of them's like a checklist. It's like, oh, well, your vitals are fine. You're good. And then another one's like, give it time. Another one's like, oh, just try some pain meds.
Yeah.
Which pain meds, unfortunately, don't seem to work with my stomach issues, unfortunately.
Yeah. That's how I feel about my back pain. So, like, I think there's some kinds of pains that you have that certain pain meds just can't touch.
Yeah, and when my stomach is so sensitive, like, any type of pill makes it worse.
Yeah.
So, right now I'm on the journey of figuring out what am I capable of and what are my limits. And that, there's some really cool moments I've had during discoveries, and there's some really shitty moments. So,
yeah.
It's a lot to process.
It's like, not only are you trying to see what your limitations are, but you're like trying to come to terms with them, which is really hard.
Right, because there's a lot you have to give up when you're sick a lot. And, you know, like, even like little things. Like, there's the senior trip where everyone's going and riding roller coasters, and I can't go because I'm recovering from surgery.
Yeah.
And even if I didn't have surgery, you know, odds are I could have been sick that day and not been able to go.
Right. Like, you look forward to things and then you don't know. Like, I was so nervous for prom. I was like, what if
I was so nervous for prom.
It's like, what if she's sick? And luckily you made it.
I did. Prom was great.
We'll post pictures here.
Yeah. It was scandalous.
But it's scary. Yeah, it's scary to just, it's like you feel so unsafe because you can't even trust, like, if you're going to feel good that day. You can't trust food because you don't know how it's going to affect you. And you can't trust sleep because, like, you're in pain, and so, like, it just leaves you feeling really unsafe, and it can put you in a really scary place mentally. And it has put you in that from time to time. And
from time to time, I've gotten to some really hard places where, like, I'd have, like, nightmares where I'm in pain even during my dreams. And which you're not supposed to feel pain during dreams. That is, like, against the law of dreams.
Oh, God, right.
I'm in a lot better place than I was. Like, I am sleeping a lot more than I used to. Yeah. I am finding new recipes, even though I swear I have to, like, change them every month because of new allergies. And I am so resilient. That is, like, the one thing this year that I have really built up is, like, resilience, because I've gotten a lot of no's, and I always feel like I reached, like, this brick wall of, like, okay, no, there's no more tests. There's nothing more to be done. But then, like, there's always something, you know?
Yeah.
And whether that even be, like,
praying it away.
Oh, gosh.
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to think of, like, a way, because, like, it's not always, like, a medical answer. Like, sometimes the answer is just learning to find your limits, you know, or asking for help.
Or a different diet, or a different...
Right. And, like, my next step is probably finding a holistic doctor, which I'm kind of pissed about. But I've kind of gone down the whole medical route, and there's not much more doctors can do for me. Like, literally, in my last GI visit, he was like, well,
that's it.
You're on the right path. And I'm like...
And the path ends here, and good luck.
Good luck to you.
Damn. Well, I just want to say that I'm really proud of you. And because what I see in Rae through this last year is that she has a lot of reasons to not want to be around. Because of, like, there's nothing that will make you not want to be around anymore more
than being sick every day.
Yes, absolutely. Than feeling, and not being able to sleep and not being able to eat. And I feel like what I'm so impressed with you for is how you bounce back. Like, no matter how upset you get, no matter how depressed you get, you always bounce back, and you always say, okay, it's time for me to try something else. Mm-hmm. And I'm so impressed with you for that. I'm so proud of you for that. And I'm scared. I'm scared to see what happens, but it makes me less scared to know, like, how resilient you are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that, like, if anyone else is struggling with chronic health issues, I hope you're not, but I think the biggest thing for me is, like, giving myself that time to mourn, because it's a big loss.
Every time they come back with a no.
Every time there's a no, it's like another like shot to the heart. It feels
It is, absolutely. Because you're just hoping something's going to be the answer so that there's a medication or an antibiotic or an organ we can remove. Like something can make it better.
Yep, but there's always a bounce back reason, whether it's like the tiniest little tiny reason.
Yeah.
And you know, I've struggled a lot like in the past with like suicidal thoughts and stuff, and those were really hard, especially to feel like I'm so sick. Like, what if I can't contribute anything and I'm just a burden?
Yeah.
And it's still a fear, you know, but I'm realizing I have a lot to offer. Like during this recovery, during surgery, like I've been able to help people in my life, even during my recovery. And I'm like, you know what? That's enough for me right now.
Oh, that's so beautiful. So, like, because you're trying to, like, do I matter even when I can't do anything? And then to see your life positively affect another life, like, gives you that.
Right.
Like, I have a purpose. I can keep going.
Yeah, for sure.
That's so beautiful.
And definitely, like, I think, like, support has been a big thing for me. Like, even, like, I think mostly I've gotten a lot of support from my friends in Missouri. Like, I still have friends here that try and support me, but, like, I have friends that call in and check in on me, and, like, I've had a friend that paid for half of my plane ticket to come out this summer because she just wanted to see me. And, like, I let her know, like, I'm sick a lot, and I don't know how much I'll be able to do. And she's like, you can just chill on my couch.
Oh, I love that.
It's literally just
you can just be sick. You can just be you, and you're enough.
It just comes to show that, like, a true relationship, like, isn't based on wanting things off of a person. You know?
Oh my gosh, that's so big for our childhood.
I know, right? Yeah.
Because love was so conditional.
It's not, and so...
Yeah.
And even though it's, like, it's not my fault that I have this condition, I feel like it's going to come in between things. And I still have anxiety every day, like, even, like, for you. Like, I'm like, this is gonna break our relationship, like, which, you know, we have pretty good communication.
Yeah, I think we've learned to communicate even better, like, because we had to. Like, we had to learn better while you were here.
Well, this is a very emotional episode.
Yes! That was so beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Well, I appreciate you giving me the space to share this, and
that's it for today.
I think that's it. Religion can have, and I'd like to say, like, religion I think can help a lot of people with chronic illness, but I think to have that pressure that God's gonna heal you is terrible.
Yes, I agree with that. Like, maybe it can give you hope when things are
and that's why
hard.
I'm teetering on maybe I'll be a Christian one day, because I've heard a lot of people with chronic illness, like, they can get a lot of hope from religion, and I feel like I need, like, some different outlets of hope and stuff, but...
Yeah. To keep you going, to keep you feeling like life matters, like that your life matters.
For sure.
Despite all the suffering. And that's the hard part, is just, like, life sometimes when you're suffering so much doesn't feel like it's worth living. But then you don't know, because you don't know if down the road it's going to get to a point where you're not suffering so much, and you will regret if you didn't get to that point.
Right.
But it's so hard.
Yeah. And, you know, I've seen a lot recently, because I've been looking for, like, even, like, podcasts. Like, this morning I was listening to a podcast with people who have, like, fibromyalgia. Or, like, POTS and, like, different autoimmune diseases. And just people who struggle with chronic illnesses. And it blows my mind to see how resilient people really are.
Yes,
you know?
that's how I felt watching you.
Like, the amount that your body can actually handle is just incredible.
And the amount that your mind can endure is also
insane. Like, I feel like I should not be moving at this point.
Yes.
And it's incredible. And, like, I have these fears, like, I don't know if I'll have kids one day, but, like, listening to podcasts and stuff, there's these people who are chronically ill every day, and they say that having kids makes it so much better because they have someone to fight for, you know? And
yes,
they have, like,
instead of feeling, like, purposeless and alone.
Right. And so I have a lot of hope, because I know I'm not alone in the battle, which helps. But also I think that it's also not helpful sometimes to listen to people's stories because it's scary.
Yeah.
Like, you hear people that are like, oh yeah, I've been chronically ill for 30 years now.
It's gotta be like
and I can't hold a job and I can't do this.
Listening to that.
But I do artwork and I do this and like it's insane because like I hear so many stories and people always find a creative outlet.
Yeah.
And so I'm just gonna find my outlets.
You are finding them. I'm proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
All right, thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll hear more from Rae because she's got a lot of cool stuff to say.
Yeah.
All right,
And depressing things, but
inspiring things. All right, peace.